What's so funny?
I'm just getting into my 3-second rule.
So, ladies and gentlemen, the 3-second rule that Col's referring to is when you start smiling before you start recording. But
Obviously makes no sense on podcast.
Well, we haven't got to that yet, Col. Okay, so to those of you who've just joined us, which will be anyone listening right now, we are starting a podcast and a YouTube show. It's like the same thing because the internet is a thing and we can make things happen with our internet.
Multi-purpose.
Oh yeah, let's repurpose that content, baby.
Yeah, repurpose.
Love it. So, welcome to the inaugural episode of
Hi everyone.
Pirate Radio. Should we introduce ourselves? Should we do...
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
You go first.
I was kind of setting up to introduce yourself, but I can introduce me.
Yeah.
Should I go first?
Yeah, go first.
Okay. So, hi, I'm Ross, otherwise known as Radlad, creative video designer fellow. Hi, everyone.
Oh, is it me now?
That's usually what happens after the first host.
Okay.
The first host introduces himself.
If you're watching on video, you'll see Ross has got a really nice sign behind his head.
See, Col also has a really nice sign, but that was his subtle way of introducing his fancy sign by complimenting me on my fancy sign.
For everyone listening, my name is Col, and my business is called Pixels Inc., and that's why we've got the name Pyrad, because it's P from Pixels and Rad from Radlad, because we're clever people.
Yeah. So yes, welcome everyone to the Pirate Radio podcast / video show. We will like once we get used to this, we will start calling it something consistent. Yeah, like and I guess so. What we essentially we've spoke about doing a podcast, video show, YouTube show, whatever for 3 years, 2 years.
It's been a long
time.
Long gestation period, shall we say.
Yeah, and like good things come to those who wait, I suppose. But essentially, do you know what we wanted to do is not necessarily we're not trying to be business gurus, like design experts or anything like that, but essentially what we want to try and do is give you, our listeners, our viewers, essentially the experience of sitting with us at the pub and just having a chat, because that is really what we're here to do. And hopefully people find it interesting, helpful.
I'm sure they will.
Borderline offensive at times, maybe. We'll try our best.
I'm sure they will.
In fact, and it's probably worth mentioning, just to get some housekeeping out of the way, that we aren't going to go out of our way to be sweary bastards, but we might utter a cuss every now and again. Let's not make a big thing about it. But, if you're listening in the car with small kids or that are like parrots and repeat every word they hear, might be a good idea to maybe tune out and come back later on.
It's not going to be that bad, though. We're not, we don't swear all the time.
No, we don't.
We're nice boys. We're nice boys.
We're really nice. So,
nice boys.
To, I guess, kick off the first episode, is we decided that each episode we're going to try and give a theme or a topic that we'll kind of try to stay on track to a little bit.
I'll do my best.
We will do our best. We're known for blethering, and I don't know how long we're into this. But you might have noticed this already. But we've decided that for this episode's topic, we don't even know how. Like, we're literally figuring this out.
You're presuming we'll record another one next week.
I know. We are literally no joke, complete transparency. And actually, maybe this is interesting or not. I don't know. We are literally pulling this together pretty much as we go, because we just wanted to have conversations. Essentially, do you know where it started, actually? And we keep talking about this, is that the amount of time we used to share an office, and the amount of times we would sit and chat for like hours and not do any work.
But it was good quality.
It was really
chat.
good, really good conversations.
Chat.
And I mean, like, not trying to big ourselves up, like, we have really good conversations. But like, we were kind of like, oh, we should have been recording that. That would have been like a really cool conversation to record. So what we have decided is to basically do that, and this is exactly what we're doing. So, if you have clicked onto this or tapped onto this, you'll probably have already seen the title, because that's how these things work, I suppose. Like the title is a surprise to no one at this stage. This episode is on having an opinion. How do you feel about that, Col? Having an opinion?
I was about to swear after me saying we don't swear. It scares the life out of me having an opinion at times. I don't know. It's one of those things I don't really think about it. I don't really go, whoa, why am I frightened of having an opinion? But then, I suppose
let's
confrontation.
Set the scene. Set the scene for us, Col. What kind of situation are you talking about?
Okay, let's say. So I have a YouTube channel. I create content, which is, about design and stuff and answering questions. So if I'm creating a video, which is the information is a fact, it's like if you do this, it's this. But if I need to record a video, which is my opinion, so in my opinion, if you do this, then these are the results that you may or may not see. So it could go either way, but that's in my experience. And my fear of having an opinion is that someone that I look up to, maybe in the design world or business world or whatever, comes back and says, you're wrong. You're wrong. Your opinion is wrong. And now that's the point, isn't it? It's my opinion. So I'm allowed to have an opinion, but I feel, holy sugar.
Yeah, well, and like let's dig into this a bit, I guess. It's like, so someone comes back to you and says, Col, I think you're talking out of your ass. I completely disagree. I'm more expert than you, and I'm telling you you're wrong. So what is the worst case scenario? What's the worst case scenario?
Sometimes it's not even if they're more of an expert. I think sometimes it's a lot about confidence.
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't. The thing is, at the end, if they are,
the worst that can
if
happen
they disagree
is,
that they're willing to say I disagree and nail their colours to the mast, then they will value their opinion technically more, I guess.
Yes.
So it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter whether they are more widely.
No, I know, and nobody's going to die.
No,
but then that means I'm having to look at it logically, And sometimes with these things, it's weird how logic just goes out the window, and suddenly you're into primitive fight or flight mode. Just for having an opinion.
Well, this is kind of where I was going with this. It's like, well, because we can all rationalize our way out of those scary thoughts, right?
Yeah, I think I'm better at it now, and I'm starting to. I suppose a prime position for me would be actually when I'm working with a client and you're trying to give them your, expert advice, been doing this job for a long time. And then you say, okay, so here's what we should do. And this is why. And then they come back and go, oh, well, in my opinion, that probably won't work for us. And old me would be like, oh, they're kind of paying money and stuff. I don't want to push back on their opinion. So I'll maybe just kind of roll with this, but knowing that I'm not doing my job. So I'm actually better now. I will push back straight away and say,
yeah, and you're not doing them. You're not doing them. You're doing them a disservice. At
exactly.
The end of the day,
and so
which
that's
is the thing.
Yeah, that's me putting the customer first, even though it might be what they don't want to hear. So I don't know if that's not really. That's not an opinion, is it? That's more. Based on experience and knowledge. Is that an opinion? It's an opinion informed by your experience and you can back
knowledge
it up.
And
you can back it up.
The thing is, but in those situations, it's not ever about being right. You're not saying your opinion because this thing. You're not explaining your opinion because you feel that you're right. You're you're doing it because you're there to provide value to the client and advice that will
like,
set them up in the best possible way. So, that's what it's there for.
It's a bit like, I suppose, people who are offended. Some people are offended by something, and another person won't be offended by that. So it's, it's your choice whether you're offended by it or not. And so it's your choice whether you agree with my opinion or you don't. But there's just something about it. It's in my makeup. There's just something about, and I know what it is. I don't like confrontation.
Mm.
So to have an opinion opens myself up to a difference of opinion coming back, and my brain translates that into confrontation, which is not the case.
No,
and I know that when I'm thinking about this and talking about it logically, it's not a confrontation.
No, of course.
It's them saying, well, I'd say I disagree with you, and so you can have a conversation about it.
So like, it's kind of on that, right? So I this is something that like across like a ton of different areas, like I try and like, I don't want to say I'm like argumentative as anything, because I'm not, but I'm trying to like put a disclaimer in front of what I'm away to explain here. But it's like, I have lots of opinions. I have lots and lots of opinions about lots of different things. But what I found is like, unless I can actually articulate why I have that opinion based on whatever it is, like whether, my experience or what so-and-so has said about this or whatever. I mean, we're literally talking about a universal approach to like opinions, right? We're not talking about design or creative work or whatever. It's not that, but
no, it's just opinions in general.
Yeah, and like, because the amount of times, someone would say like, oh, well, I think this, and then I'll be like, well, I don't know if it's as simple as that, and there might be other issues to think about, and like, but you have to actually be able to articulate why you have that opinion. I think, but kind of going through that, and I guess like part of it from that perspective is like self-checking your own opinions. Like, do you know what I mean? Like actually asking yourself, well, why do I think this? Is it because like you're not just going with, oh, I've always thought that way, so that's how I feel about it. Do you know what I mean? Like, and in terms like taking it back to your example about say it's explaining through a problem with not a problem with the client, but a creative problem you're trying to overcome, and this is the solution that you'll recommend or whatever, and the client might be like, oh, well, I don't think that, blah blah blah. You get through it by explaining the whole crux of it, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing, and in being able to do that, it's like, because it's all about confidence at the end of the day, but it's kind of a chicken and egg situation in a way.
Yeah,
it's not chicken and egg. I think they both go together.
Yeah,
and it's like, if you're able to back up first off to yourself why you have an opinion, you're then able to articulate that to another person. Doesn't matter who it is.
I think it comes down to
and that then gives you the confidence. But it's like you have the confidence to put your opinion forward, and by putting your opinion forward, you then build up your confidence.
It might be this is going to be the interesting thing about these talking about these topics, is it's a bit like self-help for me. But it's like
welcome to the therapy session for Mr. Col Gray. I'm completely unlicensed.
In next week's video, in next week's video version of this, I will be on a reclining bed, and Ross will be taking notes.
Tell me about your
but
childhood.
It's like I think the opinion side of it is, if it's an informed opinion, then because like you were saying, it's like some people can just be knee jerk and take the opposite view, but they don't have any knowledge of it, and so. When I think about this, it's like, this is now we're moving into a different area, but in some respects, I do feel, for me, imposter syndrome plays a big part. I am well informed, so I do have a strong opinion on things, but then imposter syndrome comes in from the side and goes, who are you to have an opinion on that? When they, when this person's been doing that for as long as you, or maybe they're involved in this, and it just starts to play around in your head. And then what that does is that stops me from having the opinion.
Yeah.
So I just don't say anything. And
like Yeah, do you know, it's funny, I never actually thought we would touch on imposter syndrome, but it's a really good point, because it's like, I mean, for those of you who aren't familiar with imposter syndrome, it's the idea of, feeling like an imposter in your field, and therefore your work or your opinion or whatever
get found out.
Yeah, but
you'll
like,
get found out.
Yeah, you'll get found out that you're not actually an expert or whatever, and it starts like, and it's a completely internalized thing, and you doubt yourself. I clearly don't have an explanation ready for imposter syndrome. But that's pretty much it. I think you guys get the crux of it, right?
Yeah.
So,
but winging it.
Yeah, and do you know? It's funny because certainly for me, in terms of having an opinion on something, like let's say it's something about marketing or business or whatever. For a long time, and like we're in a bunch of communities, like the Content Marketing Academy and Logo Geeks, and maybe some others. I'm not even sure, but I was definitely one of these people that would self-edit before I would even put an opinion out there. Whether it's on, I mean, you're talking like across social media, probably in person, definitely in like our Slack channels and all that kind of stuff, because I'd feel like, oh, who am I? Who am I to have this opinion? The mere mortal that is Ross, But I think like it's really hard to pinpoint when things started to change, but I think I kind of reached a point where I was maybe reading opinions in these groups or on social media or whatever, where I'd start to question what other people were saying, right? And I'm going, there's an element of like, oh well, am I wrong here? Or no, it's not about being wrong or whatever, but like, actually, am I looking at this in the right way or whatever? But eventually I was a bit like, well, hang on. Do you know, and this might come off really, really negative, but in a way, what it kind of came down to for me is, if everyone else is allowed to have their bullshit opinions, then so am I.
Yeah.
But actually, it's never BS. It's like, I mean, maybe sometimes it is, right? But it's not really about that. It's about having like your opinions are informed by your experience and your experiences that are, that is pretty much it.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you take away it about being right or wrong, it's like you still hold that opinion regardless, right? So if you never share it or never question it or never question anyone else, then where are we going to go? Like, how can anything ever get resolved ever?
Yeah.
Unless these conversations happen. Yeah. So like, but I again, I can't really remember when this. I do remember making a really conscious decision to be like, I am now going to put my opinions out there. And what started to happen was that I would respond to something in Slack or on Twitter or whatever, and then people were like, yeah, you're totally right, and that's really, or that, like, thank you, that's really helpful. And you start to see all these positive interactions you're having with people, and you go, why didn't I do this so long ago? It's like, actually, like, wait a minute, again, it's not about showing off or like being like getting the validation of others. It's just like, you go, why did I stop myself for so long? It's not, again, it's not about like, bow down, humans, I have an opinion.
No, it's not. It's like, it's what we talk about all the time, really, as people that do branding and stuff for other people, is that, and I hate the phrase authentic. I don't like it at all. I just rather say, like, just be you.
We don't dislike the concept. It's more the buzzword.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah, it's been ripped into something else. It's
being real, yo.
It just does my head in. But it's the having an opinion is what sets you apart from everyone else, because as you said, your opinion is built on your life experience, and so what's happened to you is different. What's happened to someone else, so you can have that opinion. And as you've said, if you let your opinion out, someone else can then say, oh, that's not been my experience, but that's really interesting, or that has been my experience, I agree with you or I disagree with you, and you start a conversation. But
Yeah.
like I say,
Well,
that excites me. But at the same time, my 99% of the time, it's probably going to be a discussion. But my brain's like, oh, but there's the 1% where it could be a confrontation. And
Well, do you know what? So like, I don't know if I'm necessarily in that same camp where I don't go looking for confrontation, right?
no, I don't think you do. It's
But
not.
I don't think that's in my character. But
Yeah.
I kind of do love a good discussion.
Oh, I know. I've seen some of your discussions online.
Yeah.
I've followed quite lengthy threads
Yeah.
of your discussions online. But that's the thing as well. It's like what generally though when I do see those, it's because you've challenged someone else's opinion, and it becomes very quickly it becomes clear that their opinion is not a well-informed one. It's one of those surface level, I don't like this because, and it's just
Well,
I
I mean, I'll put it out there. I have probably let my mouth run a bit more than I should at times. I don't think I get into trouble much, right? But
no, I'd say you've lit a few touch papers.
maybe,
I would say
maybe. But yeah, well, like I'm trying to think of a sort of an example I can share in this episode that will make sense. In fact, you know what? Here's one. So relatively recently, Instagram, you know where I'm going with this, right?
Oh, yeah.
So IGTV, for those who aren't aware, is kind of an extension of Instagram. It's like a video sharing platform. And they kind of pioneered, in a way, I would say, on a large scale, like for a social platform.
There's probably been ones in the past that have been and gone and tried it, but
yeah. So,
Instagram's
portrait kind of vertical video, where like rather than having to turn your phone on, because it's a mobile only service. Most people don't hold their phone sideways, as I'm sure we can all attest to. And it sparked there was like a team vertical video versus team landscape debate on social media, and I fall within the team vertical video camp for IGTV, and without turning into a debate about IGTV, essentially where my opinion comes from is that like Instagram is a vertical format, like a vertical, predominantly vertical app. Like you don't turn it around. Like YouTube, for example, it has tons has always had. It has always had landscape videos, movie trailers, episodes of things, long form content, etc. So we're used to going onto YouTube and turning it around to, and also like the app's built in a way on a phone that it just makes sense. All the channels are there, all the, you can swipe for the comments while you're watching the video, all that kind of stuff, right? IGTV, okay, I know the things will change because they have just announced that they're going landscape, and I think they're not doing away with portrait, but they're like introducing landscape. My overall opinion on it is that I think it's a short-sighted move, because what they could have done is essentially spearheaded and become the platform for vertical video, because you have that constraint. It's like that, that saying, like, creativity thrives under constraint, because like you have
it makes you think about if you want to be on Instagram,
and you have to be creative around how you present the stuff,
exactly.
And I've seen some really cool uses of vertical video, and like my fear, and this comes from like, so as a guy who does video production for commercial clients, like most of the time the standard is landscape because that's what everything is in. Okay, fair enough. And then like you might want a square version for like Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever, or Instagram. The portrait version is another production job. It carries a cost. So if all of a sudden you don't need to make your video portrait to get it on IGTV, I think a lot of people will just not bother.
They'll just put the same content up as they've got on YouTube.
And the thing, and this is exactly it, is so IGTV becomes just another Facebook, just another. I mean, okay, Facebook owns Instagram, but that's not the point. But it's like all the same. It'll just be all the same stuff in all the places, and because Instagram was. I mean, okay, like YouTube does portrait videos. Like you can upload portrait videos on YouTube, but that's not the point. Because Instagram TV, IGTV, was saying you can only have portrait videos, it's like it means it's a channel platform with only portrait videos on it. So like it's a unique differentiator. It holds a very unique space.
Out. Yeah.
And now, I mean, okay, yes, of course you can still put portrait videos on it, but now I think it'll just start to diminish, and I think it's just going to turn into every other video platform, and it's a shame. I think it's a shame. Yeah. But do you know what? Like and this was one of these things. Like this was my first instinct. I remember, like, I think you put it in the CMA Slack.
I was like, woohoo!
And you were like, yay, landscape! And I was like, no, this is awful.
But that was me lighting the touch paper, because I don't even use IGTV. So for me, it makes no difference. I'm on YouTube most of the time. But I knew that you know, there, for, like you say, if a client with you invests to create portrait stuff, like you say, the portrait stuff will remain, but in future, if budgets are tighter or whatever, does the client just say, right, to save some budget, let's just use the same video or recut a landscape video for that, which which you will do, but it's just one of those things as well, I suppose. Like,
well, this thing is like a good example. Like, you don't have to create a completely unique piece of content to repurpose for IGTV, but what you do often have to do is, because the horizontal width of the frame, trying not to be too technical here, but because there's a lot less space to deal with. The usual, the rule of thirds, for example, that you tend to see in video and photography and stuff, kind of goes out the window a little bit. Yeah, because you've only got a third to deal with, right? So you have to get what you tend to do is move all your shots around to get them to fit in, and then like all your graphics need to change, all this kind of stuff. However, the thing that I think is really interesting about it is, it's like, because the space completely changes. So like, I'm using my hands for those of you listening. For those of you on the show, you'll see what I'm doing. But on a landscape video, you've got the entire width of the frame. Portrait spins the whole thing around, but you have a very distinct top and bottom area, which is not something you really get with landscape. It doesn't work the same. Like, I mean, I don't know if anyone. I mean, I think like people playing like 2 and 4 player video games on the same TV is. I feel like that's something that's kind of disappearing a bit, because most multiplayer games are online. But it reminds me of the old
screen,
GoldenEye on a TV where like it's split split horizontally, but like you have like a really narrow space. So this is what I'm saying. On a landscape video, it doesn't work. It doesn't work the same. But
it's a very
portrait
different
changes
user experience.
Yeah, your canvas is so different, and like I like I said, I think there's I think portrait video we've only really scratched the surface, because it is
given enough time.
And it is a relatively new platform, and yes, it requires a bit of additional time and, in a lot of ways, budget in order to make videos portrait, or only make them portrait, or whatever.
But does that not?
But it's a unique thing. It's
it's
the ability to create a unique piece of content.
The people that are willing to spend the time to invest in that will have an advantage in that they're doing something different.
Yes.
To the ones who are like, I can't be bothered doing that.
And it's just the fear. This is the thing. The fear I have is people just punt it on IGTV. And and like one of the counter arguments I've kept coming across is like, oh, you know, viewership on IGTV is so low compared to YouTube and stuff. It's like, first of all, that's not the point. Like,
it might be
people.
It might be the point.
Can we please move beyond vanity metrics? It's like there's so much more to it than just views and just.
But who's looking at those vanity metrics? Is it the shareholders? And is that why decisions have been made? You know, because if it's bean counter stuff,
I personally feel like here's what this is my kind of summary of why I think it's happened. Facebook bought Instagram. Facebook makes a lot of money on ads. Making vertical video ads takes a bit more time. They're harder to sell, therefore Instagram is less profitable than Facebook. Oh, wait. You mean we can start serving the same ads on Facebook that we serve on Instagram and make a ton more money? I guarantee you that's why that decision was made. It has nothing to do with user experience. Nothing to do with that.
No, I don't think so either.
And I think the words I used on Twitter was something like IGTV going landscape is it was a notch on the bedpost of marketers ruin everything fuckery, because that is what it is. Because it's either marketers ruin everything or shareholders ruin everything, and that's what I feel like has happened. Anyway, sorry, we did actually go off on a bit of a tangent about IGTV, but that I'll tell you, this is an example. This is a really good example, though, of an opinion I would not have probably shared quite so passionately maybe a couple of years ago. But like, I kind of nowadays, and you know what, I know that like certainly over the last couple of years, my confidence has totally like transformed. I'm so much more confident in general.
Do you think though, you know, you're saying you wouldn't have done it. Is there an element though of and I don't, not in a selfish way, but is there an element of, well, you're making a living now doing a lot of video, so it's frustrating for you from that point of view. So let's say you weren't doing video, you were just a consumer of video, and you were doing just websites or, you know, graphic design and not doing video. Would you have the same opinion? Because obviously we're talking about earlier on, it's like it's about experience.
So do you know what? And I don't know, and I don't know if I would, because
it's hard.
I would probably be a lot. I mean, it's like, you know, Col, imagine how would you feel about racism if you were a black woman?
Well, you already know, Ross. I don't have an opinion on anything. So
no,
I'm asking you that question.
But, do you know what I mean? It's like if it's just really. It's really hard to take yourself out of a situation you're already in. Yeah. But I do kind of feel like, I don't know if I do. Do you know what? I can't actually answer that question. I guess it's really.
It was a tough question. I was just interested to see.
But I think like, I guess like objectively, I think where I try to look at this whole landscape versus portrait thing is like, as a user, I don't know. I can almost imagine if I was a marketing exec in a business wanting to punt out videos and wanting to do it cheaply, and if I was told by the board that I needed to provide reports of views whatever, then maybe my opinion. But I don't know. Like, I think the one thing I would say is, as a designer, I would like to think I'd get the creative element.
Well, that's because that's where I'm coming in at it from. Is that I'm not a user of it, but I enjoy the different experience, and as you just said there, looking at the creativity that people are having to use with it, and it's really, really, really cool.
Yeah.
But again, that's me coming at it from a designer's way of thinking. And so if I tried to put myself into your average somebody that just works in a retail shop during the day or whatever, and they're just a consumer of IGTV, as you said, the vanity metrics are showing that there's not that much on it. So do they do they care if it goes to landscape? Probably would, because it's probably going to annoy them because they're
Do you
having
know what?
to.
I think actually thinking about it, do you know what? Yes, I think I would probably have the same opinion because, like, I don't know. One of the things I mean, I'm a user of Instagram, right? One of the things I love about it is it's all, you don't need to turn your phone around. Like the Facebook.
That's what I mean.
app's the
As
same.
soon as you have to use an
as
app
soon as you have to like
this way and then
turn it, it's like, and well, I think I like made a joke about, you know, like like, oh, we'll start making apps for people because like people carry their phones around 99% of the time sideways, you know, like.
yeah.
I'm not explaining this very well, but I think like I had, do you know what? I had like a vision in my head while this debate was going on of like, imagine if someone started creating. I mean, I know it's I know it's a slightly backwards way of looking at it, but it's the same idea of like, imagine somebody started making portrait content for your living room TV.
Yeah.
And you had to turn your TV on its side.
Yeah.
Like, people hold their phones in a portrait fashion. Like, gone. I mean, I don't know if you remember do you remember the Nokia N Gauge back in the day?
Yes. Yeah.
I had that phone.
That way.
Yeah,
it was like a little game.
It was
console.
like a little game. Yeah, I loved it. I actually, you held it like a sandwich. You had to hold it like that. It was funny. Yeah, it was weird, like holding a sandwich to your ear. Sorry, listeners, I was holding my hand like I was holding a sandwich to my ear. People on the YouTube show will get this, but anyway, yeah, like gone are those days, and I think like because like the whole thing is like mobile is like pretty much everything, or not everything, but like mobile is so huge. Like most people with mobile phones have smartphones. Most of those people watch a ton of video content on their phones. To me, I just feel like portrait video. I do feel that portrait video is still going to be a huge. Like, there's going to be a huge proportion of portrait videos on the internet in future. I don't think we can escape that. And I say escape as if it's a bad thing. I mean, like, I think it's a good thing. I think it is a natural extension of the fact that people use their phones more. It's like, why would you want to turn your phone on its side? It's crazy. Like, I mean, unless you want to watch something with a bigger picture or whatever. But then but the whole point is that the portrait video
it's
takes
really
up
funny
the entire
because,
screen. Like
I'm used to when I'm using my phone. If it's a game, a lot of the time it's this way. It's and I'm holding my phone up landscape horizontally. But I've started doing some yoga because I need to get fit. And the app that I use on my phone is landscape. And it's weird to use. It feels like everything's really squashed in. And it doesn't seem right. It's like the instinct is, this app would be better if it was portrait, because it would just be logical. But I think what it is because this app is a tracker app as well, and it's got a calendar and stuff, you can get more stuff in if you have it horizontally.
Yeah.
But I would happily, on a portrait mode on a calendar, scroll sideways, left and right,
or like, because I know the one you're talking about. We're not putting them on blast or anything, but like it's like only designed in landscape. Like it's not one.
It's fine on my iPad.
Yeah.
The
it's
iPad's
huge.
A much bigger resolution
and
bigger screen. And it's almost, it's like that when it's designed for iPad and then ported to a phone. And it doesn't quite translate that well. And like,
and it's not like responsive, so you can't choose whether it's landscape or
portrait. You can't turn your phone and stuff.
Anyway, I feel like we've probably gone around this a bit, but like I think the thing that came, do you know what I think it comes down to is like these days, I don't know if I'm just getting like older or whatever, and I don't know, maybe I don't think I'm particularly curmudgeonly already in my in my early 30s, but I just think like I have no problem nailing my colours to the mast these days. I actually think, now I think I'm, funnily enough, so for those watching, there's a Hamilton book on my bookshelf over there, and there's a lyric in it that I think in Hamilton. If you're a musical theatre nerd, you might like this. It's hang on. It's if you stand for nothing, what will you fall for? Right, the whole idea, because obviously it's talking about like the American Civil War and stuff.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
and I think that's it though. It's like I feel like you should stand for something. Like, why be beige and follow? It's not even like following the crowd, because you're still you're still choosing to just follow what everyone else is doing. But I don't know. I just kind of feel like, do you know what? Like I like it's, and again, it's not about don't get me wrong. Like I have a huge issue with people who are just like, well, I'm opinionated and you're just gonna have to put up with that because that's who I am, that's what I'm like. There's actually a really good meme going around. I think it's from the guy that wrote The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
Mark Ronson.
Is that right?
Yeah.
The music producer. He worked with Amy Winehouse and
Manson.
Manson. Yeah.
Manson.
Yeah, not Mark Ronson. I look forward to Mark Ronson's book about not giving a fuck. But and it's in a nutshell, it's talking about how unhealthy the attitude of, oh, that's just who I am, take it or leave it. And it's basically how that is essentially a childish attitude, because if you can't look at yourself and your own, especially the negative aspects of your personality, and if you go out of your way to, or not even go out of your way, if you insult someone, for example, say you say something, maybe in your own head you don't think you're being offensive, right? But if you really hurt someone's feelings and they go, I'm sorry, I actually find that really offensive or whatever, or that's really upsetting.
Yeah, and then the response,
is, well, that's just how I am. That's my opinion, and that's what I'm like. Like, I'm sorry, you are
horrible.
You are consciously, by that point, putting the ownership on the other person to
see. I
to
feel
make,
that
to make,
is confrontational.
Well, no, I mean, well, I guess, but it's not confrontational though, because, and the reason I say this is because that person is not willing to actually have a confrontation or involve themselves in a discussion. They are going, nope, nope.
You can't change my mind.
I'm not having this discussion. Yeah. And you are basically a giant child if you cannot look at your behavior and go, oh, wait a minute. Oh, is that what I've been doing all this time?
Yeah.
Because I'm not gonna try and say that I'm some super woke individual, but I can tell you right now, I have definitely looked at things I've said and done, maybe not done so much, but definitely things I've said, because my mouth gets me into trouble all the time.
We all change.
Yeah, but I think the world is becoming a more multifaceted and interesting and tolerant. I actually hate to use the word tolerant, accepting place of diversity and inclusivity, and yeah, I there's definitely things I can look at my previous behavior and be like, I would never behave like that now.
Yeah,
I would never say that. I would never say those things. I mean, look, I'm not going to get into it. This is not what it's not what this is. No, this is about.
But it's still it's still based on opinions. Yeah, and like you're saying, it's just I'm starting to get my opinions out there just because I have more confidence through just the past few years, and I suppose as well it's that thing about the people that you hang around with.
You're the average of the 5 people you spend.
That's the people I hang around with now. It's totally changed from 4 or 5 years ago.
I mean, you hang out with some pretty cool people. I'm just gonna put that out
there. Yeah.
You do, to be fair, but
I mean, if I included you, it'd probably be the average of 6 people. But it's that's kind of sort of how it is for me. I mean, like you're saying, you're in your 30s. I mean, I'm 45. I think when I was 42, 43, I was becoming incredibly like Victor Meldrew, and everything was just, it was just annoying. Everything was annoying. And I remedied that by unfollowing everybody on Facebook, because I was just getting caught up in opinions.
Yeah.
Opinions that I had no, in a way, no right to even kind of get involved in, because
But you still get
I didn't have that much
sucked into
experience
everyone
with
else's
it.
drama,
But I just
you know?
thought, I'm going to stick my oar in here. And I was like, why am I doing this? Why am
Yeah.
I getting involved in this when really it has no effect on
I mean,
my
so
side of things?
it's funny. We can maybe talk about this for a moment, actually, because I remember when you did this, and I think we spoke about this at one point, and I remember you saying, I
think we probably spoke about it in the office. Yeah.
I've unfollowed everyone on Facebook. I'm only in my business groups now. I was like, okay, so that's interesting, because like my approach, and again, this is not about my approach is better. I'm right. No,
It's just your opinion.
yeah, it's just my opinion. No, but I've done this for years now. Like I can't even remember when I started. But I think I started to become aware of getting sucked into. To be honest, I'm actually going to probably say it's less about getting sucked in arguments and stuff, but like it's more about like if people start. So what I said to myself, let's just get to the point. Eventually, what started happening was I would find myself seeing content, seeing opinions, seeing shite on Facebook that would like spark this like negative reaction in me.
That's exactly what I was about
You
to
know?
say. I was thriving on being in negative threads.
Yeah.
I was enjoying
And getting like,
being
yes!
negative. Yeah,
Keyboard,
I was
you know.
enjoying
Yeah.
being, in a way, confrontational.
Yeah.
Which is not me.
No, not at all. Not
It's
at all.
not me.
No.
And it's like,
But like, I
and
think
it's
like,
that point where you're like,
but you kind
I
of you
became
almost
very
reached
aware.
like I think
Yeah.
I feel like you reached kind of a breaking point with it though, and so it was like I'm not trying to say you were like on the verge of a nervous.
oh no, I
breakdown
wasn't
or
on the
whatever.
verge of breakdown.
But
I
like
was just,
I
I'd
think,
had enough.
but there was a
I
lot.
was just
But there was a lot of it as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, but the thing, like I say, I've been doing this for a really, really long time. Where if I started to find myself feeling, it's not even like negative, but if I'd spark a reaction in myself that I didn't like for whatever reason, I would just like unfollow or just bin them all together. Like, sorry folks, but if you post nonsense on Facebook all day, I will bin you. Like, sue me, right? So like I've kind of like over a really, really long time, I've really like I've made a conscious effort to cull all of that from my feeds, and there's people that I've like added on Facebook relatively recently. I have already binned them, or like unfollowed them. I maybe don't want to disconnect from them, but I'll definitely unfollow them.
I mean,
so like, but I mean, I do still like the friend stuff and all that as well. But
yeah, I mean, that's the weird thing is that
but I didn't have to do like one big exercise because I just over time like I do it as a almost as a habit.
You can only do it one at a time. There's no bulk unfollow, and you have to do it one at a time.
And that's why I do it over time, because
there was part of that kind of negativity, but there was also a large part of it was I was just on Facebook too much. It was I'm too easily distracted. So by unfollowing everyone, there was the only stuff that I was seeing was stuff that I felt was relevant to my own growth in whatever areas, business, health, whatever.
I think that's really smart, though. I do think that's really smart.
But at the same time, Judy, who's my partner, will say to me, "Oh, isn't it really cool that such and such is doing this?" And I'll be like, "I don't know. I don't see anything on Facebook." Yeah. So I'm missing out on the good stuff because I'm trying to avoid
a wee bit of a shame.
The bad stuff.
That is, but I mean, is it a cost though? It's a price you pay to not have the negative.
It's one of those things, and
And you still have real life. You can still you can still celebrate stuff that happens off the internet. You know,
and people can still, because I've only unfollowed them, people can still tag me specifically, and I get tags. So I'll go in and look at it, but I now don't get involved in just mad political stuff.
So I wondered if we were going to talk about politics for a second, because in the context of having an opinion online, okay,
Fake news. Fake news.
I think I actually put it. Yeah, I did. I did tweet about this or this topic without even realizing that we were going to be doing a podcast about it. So like, I am 100% comfortable talking about politics on social media, right?
Yeah.
It has been. I have seen this on Twitter and LinkedIn and Facebook and whatever. More on like Twitter and LinkedIn around as a business owner, entrepreneur, person in. I mean, I think probably within marketing, within design, and like and creative industries in general. It's like people saying you shouldn't talk about politics on social media, and largely that comes from the idea that you shouldn't talk about politics in a business on a business channel, like, or yeah. And I think that comes from the idea that someone who's a prospective client or customer might disagree with your politics and
not use
use your services, or whatever. And I do feel like it's probably driven a lot more.
I'm fine with that.
So I am 100% fine with that. Like,
I'm fine with that. If someone doesn't want to work with me for that reason, I'll work with anyone. Like you and I, we have both fairly similar, I think, political leanings. If someone came to me who was the very opposite, not the very opposite, but okay, let me just get this out of the way.
You mean you're dancing around the type of person because you don't want to have an opinion on a podcast about having opinions.
I'm all for Scotland being an independent country.
Okay.
Now, say someone wanted to come to me,
guys, we brought it up.
And use me.
We're one episode in. We brought it up,
so we've instantly lost 50% of our viewers.
No, not by recent polls, Col. Not by recent polls.
Right, so okay. Was saying, yeah. So if someone came to me who was a very staunch unionist, I'm not going to work with them because that's their stance on it.
Precisely.
If it was someone who came to me who was an absolute Nazi, then that's a different matter.
So do you know the way I kind of look at it, right, is if right, I probably want to be. I do actually want to be clear because actually I don't want to be misconstrued. If someone has conservative leaning politics, right, I'm not going to not work with them. I'm not going to not get on with them. Some of my best friends are Tories. Actually, I don't know if that's true. But no, but like that's what I mean. It's like I'm not going to judge someone just based on their politics. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, look, the Conservative Party are they're not emailing me asking for me to do the work for them. I will put this out here right now. I wouldn't do work for them. Yeah. Period. That's fine. Like, by the same token, like I wouldn't do creative work for a butcher or a slaughterhouse. Mm-hmm. Right, for the same. I mean, I have opinions on animal welfare and stuff that it's just not. I'm just not interested. Now the difference is, I wouldn't, like I say, I wouldn't hold someone's politics over their head or like judge them and not work with them. However, if they decided not to work with me because of my politics, I'm cool with that. Yeah. It really doesn't bother me. Because I mean, personally, if that's how people really feel, it's like you're
funny though as well. When
you're probably
got that and
not,
like,
and
someone takes the time to send you an email to say, I was going to work with you, but I'm not because you think this. Why don't you just not work with me? Why do you feel you have to tell me that
because
you were going to work with you? Because is that to make me feel bad or like?
I think it's probably less about trying to make you feel bad and probably more about trying to make themselves feel good or justified.
Bit more validation
or justified in their crap opinion. Yeah. No, but like because I just think like there's like I definitely these days, don't get me wrong, look, I try. I mean, I genuinely do try. I used to be so bad for it. I mean, it was a genuine weak point. or a weakness in me where I could not step away from an online a flame war, if you will, online, like on a thread, a discussion thread about a particular topic. If I had an opinion, holy moly, I would weigh in on it. Nowadays, to be honest, I really pick my battles. Like, I really, really pick my battles.
You've got to be,
and the vast majority of those battles I walk away from, like, before I even get involved. I also walk away from discussions if I'm like, I've said my bit. This isn't like I've said my bit, you can't change my mind. But it's like, if I know that this is not going to end, it's only going to continue in a cycle of vitriol and whatever. I'm just like, I'm just going to step out. I'm just like, I don't owe anyone the end of this conversation, right?
But it's also, for me, it's about working with people that I'm getting long in the tooth as well, and I've been through working with people, and it's been just hard going, and so I'm at the stage where I'm like, I want to work with people that I'm happy working with, and that I can have great relationships with clients who are on a different kind of spectrum in certain areas with my thinking, my beliefs, and we get on great. It's just
the difference is the point is that neither of you judge each other for
everyone's,
and that's the good thing. Like, I think this is the point, is that, like, we've probably shown our viewers that we are probably like more left leaning people, right? But this is the point. It's not about us saying like, oh, we're right or we're better. It's not even about that. I'm not trying to say it. I mean, in certain areas, I might argue for particular points, but that's not what I'm talking about. The point is like, people are allowed to have their politics, and guess what? So are you.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like, I think that's kind of what I take away from this. And generally speaking, I just think these days I'm totally just like, do you know what? I am not interested in shutting my mouth just because I'm scared about what people might think. Like, I can attest to a lot of areas where I definitely would, and I absolutely censored myself for a very, very, very long time around my opinions, around my political leanings, around in terms of like issues around equality and all that sort of stuff. And nowadays, I can't tolerate. I can't stand by.
Yeah.
And allow people to have unchecked, awful opinions.
Yeah. And that's the difference, is when there's some extreme stuff and you're just like, whoa.
And but sometimes it doesn't even have to be that extreme. And don't get me wrong, like I do feel like this is where we get into that moment of the episode where we talk about the ridiculousness of political stuff on social media. But I think, like, because there is, in my opinion, a big problem with, and look, I'll put it out there, I'm not going to look, Col, I won't talk for you, I'll talk for me. I'm definitely a bit of a lefty, but I'll tell you something, I think there's a huge proportion of like far left, I don't want to call them the far left, but I mean, like, the militant left, I mean, like, the very outspoken left, where they do kind of police people's language and their opinions and stuff in what I would not deem as a constructive way. Like, they would quickly jump down someone's throat because they said the wrong thing, rather than have a conversation with them. And I think that's where I feel like there's problems all around. Like, there's a huge problem with that in so many areas, where like people are so quick to just dive on people. And I think, but this is part of the thing where, like, if you have an opinion that you can articulate, and this is something I said, we talked about this at the very start of the episode, and you can back up your opinion with reasoned arguments or even just reasons why you feel this way, rather than just being like, oh well, my dad has always had this political leaning, so this is what I say.
Yeah, so
this is what I believe, right? Or like my family or whatever. It doesn't matter. This idea of, like, not, like, you should be able to actually explain your point, and I think so many people can't. I think, and for, like, let's not get into all those reasons, but mostly because I think a lot of people hold opinions for the wrong reasons. They know they're the wrong reasons, and they're not willing to admit them.
But they can't admit it, and that's
and so they just kind of they use false arguments or completely ridiculous arguments.
There's the whole thing as well about having an opinion online that you wouldn't say to the same person in person.
I'm actually not sure personally. I'm
not you.
Not sure if
I don't
there's
mean
a
you. I'm
difference.
saying I just
to
mean
me, I don't think there is anything that I wouldn't share.
No, but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There are other people though. There's trolls out there who are like vicious.
Oh,
with
those
stuff,
people. Sorry, yes,
but
yes, absolutely.
And it might not even be that is their real opinion. They're just going in there to just be horrible.
Yeah.
Just to be horrible online, but not like that.
I've definitely experienced internet trolls for sure. I do remember one. I don't know if I can call it a discussion, where some absolutely outrageous accusations were being flung my way. I mean, like what I deemed as like offensive accusations, right? And what essentially came down to is like this person had a reason for feeling the way that they did, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But did that thing that I mentioned earlier where they jumped down the throat of someone for asking a question, like literally just asking a question, wanting to have a discussion. And I kind of had to remind them, it was like, I opened the floor to have a discussion with you. You've like, it was absolutely ridiculous. I mean, like, I was accused of being homophobic, and like, I am not homophobic at all.
Yeah.
As a queer individual, I'm not homophobic.
Was this on Twitter?
It was on Twitter, years ago.
I think I may have.
It was a year ago or something like that.
Well. Yeah,
and it was it was absolutely horrendous.
I think I've read that as well.
Absolutely horrendous. And like, again, the person clearly had no idea who they were talking to. But like, what I eventually said to the person is like, okay, you feel passionate about your opinion, but you're not actually trying to have a discussion, or you're not open to having a discussion. And essentially what I said to them was like, you're not a very good teacher in this situation. It's like, we kind of ended it on relatively good terms. Yeah. Like, it was kind of like the person actually was a bit like, I don't think they apologized necessarily, but they were a bit like, oh,
it was almost agree to disagree.
No, it was kind of more of a like, yeah, fair enough. Like, I get you. I get what you're saying. Yeah, maybe I did react a bit badly, but here's why. And it's like, okay, I get it. Again, it doesn't give you a license to do that. But anyway, and again, like, it was like that way where like I was genuinely, I thought we were on the cusp of a really good like conversation, like a good like discussion about whatever it was, and it descended so quickly into internet troll.
Ridiculous. I think that's probably
stuff.
That kind of thing is at the root of my fear of letting my opinion out, is that someone like that will come in and like,
well, see,
and it's but
it's, I have to admit, nowadays I absolutely do not fear that. And in fact, actually, one of the things I did want to maybe discuss is like, see, this whole thing of being being the average of the people you spend most time with and things, and like, I think actually like aligning your values, and it's not about your politics and stuff. I mean, like, just aligning your values.
It's a different
with people who are also like not scared to share their opinion. And again, it's not about having good opinions or bad opinions. It's just like, but see, when you see like really good examples of people sharing their opinions, and
that's why I'm getting more comfortable with it.
I can definitely,
right, it is.
There are people, we have mutual people in our lives, right, who are excellent at sharing their opinions on social media, and I definitely have taken a leaf from their book.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
And I think that's probably part of it. But I guess it's like I think what it all kind of comes down to is confidence, and I think in some respects it's a bit chicken and egg. Like one doesn't necessarily come first, but they do support each other. Like once it's like once you get the ball rolling, the more you put yourself out there, the more confident you become in putting yourself out there, which then makes you more confident. Because
I'm at the position. I'm at the position now, especially with my own content that I'm putting out there, especially with the YouTube content. I'm running dry of stuff to say that is opinionless.
Col, you're just gonna have to.
This is the kind of stuff. So
you're just gonna have to start talking shit about on your.
Well, that's kind of one of the reasons. That's kind of one of the reasons that and I know we've been talking about doing this podcast for a long time, but it's one of the reasons to get involved with this podcast and have these discussions with you,
ladies and gentlemen. We have the official reason why Col started this podcast, because he's run out of ideas for his YouTube channel.
Officially empty tank. It's that I have lots of stuff. I have lots of opinions on brand and branding and design that I want to say, but kind of go, am I throwing myself to the wolves here because the general opinion is this, but my opinion is this. But after what the discussion we've had today is that, my opinion is this because it's based on experiences of what's worked for my clients. And if I know it's worked for my clients, then my opinion is valid, as is your opinion over here, because this has worked for your clients. And
do you know what?
Stuff.
Yeah, I actually think that's a really good point, because I, do feel like in a lot of situations there's room for both parties to be right.
I think if you bring both opinions in,
it's context and nuance. Because I think the thing is in certain situations it's not like we'll talk about design, for example. It's like in like if you followed any design Twitter feed or group or whatever, there'll be people talking about the rules of design and the things that you absolutely must do. Like, I mean, I remember seeing a post a while back. I remember we spoke about it actually. And I'm sure you'll remember this when I start talking about it. It was someone in a design group that we're in. A student or someone really new to logo design had come into the group and was asking for advice on logo design. I can't remember the exact questions that they asked because it was a while ago. And someone in the group said, designing a logo in a grid is mandatory.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, a lot of shit.
Honestly, but there's some people that agreed with this person. I was like,
but that's the problem,
especially
with groups which are very large. You have people coming in who are young sponges looking to learn, and then you get thrown all of this advice from people who are some of them who are giving this mandatory advice are 2 weeks ahead of them in experience.
Yep.
Well,
but they take it as like gospel.
Because they don't know this person.
Yep.
They're just like, they're in this group, so they must be a designer, so I must listen to them.
But it perpetuates all this like bad practice and ill-informed opinions.
Sort of 50. You can feel 50. Let's call them experienced designers, all putting palm to forehead and going, what? And this is exactly the kind of thing that I'm talking about, where I have a strong opinion, and where people are like, you must use the golden ratio, and I've probably used the golden ratio once, maybe. I understand how it's used and stuff. But you saw I put a post up the other day where someone had they created a nice looking logo.
It was nice,
it was a really nice, simple looking logo. But then they showed how they'd created it, and they'd like had all these circles and dotted lines and grids and stuff. And I was like, why are you doing that? Is it to justify the production of the end result? Because the end result looks so simple, people seem to have to feel that they have to make it look like it was really complex to create.
And the thing, and you'll know as well as I do, and a lot of experienced designers out there will hopefully agree with us, is that oftentimes making something really simple is actually really hard.
It's super hard
because you have to all the times you have to go through the iterations to get there. And do you know, we could talk about that.
That's a
we
whole
could talk
other
about this
podcast,
all day.
absolutely.
I mean, it really is
but
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and I just put, through my ridiculousness of that, thing by putting that photo up of me with grids over everything, and on my beard and stuff. It's like, you don't have to use grids to create everything. The golden ratio is good to test a logo, but I have lots of logos that I've created for clients that do not fit within the golden ratio. They just don't.
But it's just it's one of those examples of a trend that does the rounds, and people just assume that that's the way you do it. Then
it's people use that in a way to just, I don't know, just to kind of be like, I've used the golden ratio, so I'm a proper logo designer, or I'm just a proper, or I read
a piece of theory, therefore
grid systems.
Yeah.
For laying out pages, grids. I did animation for my degree. I did graphic design for 3 years, but we didn't actually didn't do grid systems. And everything I do is done by eye, and I lay out with what looks right to me. And I had someone who worked for me who did grids, and I was like, that looks so restrictive to use. And they're like, yeah, but if you use a grid, it looks right to the eye. And they were like, but you use grids. And I was like, I've never used a grid in my life. And they're like, but your stuff looks like it's been done on a grid. Because for me, it's common sense. I have an eye for it then, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting.
I've seen some stuff done with grids that looks terrible.
Oh, yeah, it's so easily, yeah. And, because I think you're similar to me, where, if you're in Illustrator, for example, you'll work off, a blank page, a white page. Yeah, so I'm the same. And if I'm carving up, I'll carve up shapes based on proportions. Mm-hmm. So, things are symmetrical and, things like that. But, you don't need a grid to achieve those results. And but because, again, I think because people in the industry are using grids to show that they're special. Yeah. And it's just ego. It's just ego. Honestly,
but there's
the whole
a lot,
thing,
you look at a lot of them and the grids
ego-driven.
make no sense.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It looks impressive if you don't know what you're doing. So when you're trying to wow a potential client, they don't know. They're just like, wow.
Yeah.
They've put a lot of work into that. But any designer looking at it is like, that's a lot of nonsense.
Yeah. But the thing is that, again, though, it's the problem with it is it perpetuates this idea that that's how logo design is done. And that is that those are the rules and you therefore must follow them. And it's like, do you know what? I don't want to say the rules are made to be broken, but sometimes it's nice.
They're guides. I just use them as guides.
But
you don't have to.
But a lot of rules can be ignored, I think, is the point. It's not about breaking rules. It's just about you can just pick and choose them whenever it fits. And again, if you're actually looking at a problem creatively, that's exactly what you should be doing, because that's
because not everything's going to fit into the same.
Because the thing is, if all the rules worked all the time, I would argue that you could plug all of those rules into a computer, and the computer could do it because it would follow all the rules. It would just follow all the rules, and it would spit out a perfect.
And that's the difference about having this thing, called a brain and creativity, and being able, as you say, to sort of color in outside of the lines.
Yeah.
And
for example, one of the most iconic logos. Well, I'll name two. I could probably name a bunch, but I'll stick to two because everyone hopefully listening to this will understand. So just to illustrate this idea for people who are maybe not sure what we're talking about, it's imagine trying to lay a grid over the Nike logo. the Nike logo or the Coca-Cola logo, try and lay a grid over that and make it make sense. Like it's
some people
seen it.
will do that.
I've seen
yeah,
it.
some
It's
people
ridiculous.
will overlay the golden ratio on things and make it fit. But it's like, but that wasn't designed with the golden ratio in mind. What that shows is that it's a well-proportioned logo.
Yes, exactly.
That's been done by eye, and that's kind of how I work as well.
Yeah.
So.
No, totally. No, I think so.
But, we're kind of moving into other areas now. But I just the opinion thing is it's not having this podcast. It's not changed my opinion of opinions. What it does is it's let me see that it's like I shouldn't be so frightened of having my opinion.
I honestly, I don't think. Yeah, sorry.
Be as it and just and just be not that I'm not anyway, but just be maybe be accepting of other opinions and don't just take it as an opposite to my own. Actually, be more open to okay, why is that? Why have you come to that opinion? And then, as you said, if you've got two people bringing opinions in, you can have this really nice middle area where you explain why you have those experiences, and you can get that. Oh yeah, I could understand that. Oh yeah, I could understand that, and you get a good discussion. It doesn't always have to be
shouting.
And that's my opinion.
Doesn't have to there's be that as well.
You know,
I mean, like this is one of these things where, like, I mean, this is honestly you've no doubt heard me say this before, but you kind of illustrated a really just a really, really good point, which is the ability to have a discussion about conflicting views. I mean, it is actually potentially a really powerful, like, transformative experience, because like you can open your mind up to alternative ways of thinking. But not only that, but like if someone has an opinion that we're talking about this in like really abstract terms, but someone has an opinion about something and you like your gut reaction is just like, that is an awful opinion to have.
Yeah, the opposite.
For whatever reason. Like let's keep it with it, because we could go off on a tangent.
Like people that eat cheese and jam. Cheese and jam sandwiches. You know?
Right, awful. No, that's not a good example. The ability to allow the other person to actually explain why they hold this opinion. And like, I'm not going to talk about it, but like there are a couple of very, very big hot topics politically at the moment, with things going on in America, arguably things in other, well, it's happening in the UK as well, that are very, very heated debates, and there are people who are very, very strongly opinionated on both sides. So what I tend to find is that when you have people shouting at each other that the other person is wrong and that they are awful for holding those opinions, it gets nowhere. The discussion goes.
No one's listening.
The discussion just doesn't, because there's no ability to move forward. There is no room to move forward at all, because
stalemate.
It's this and that and that's it.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is that, like, if you actually have discussions with people who, for lack of a better phrase, may appear to have strong opinions about certain things, oftentimes you find that they hold their opinions because of quite just reasons.
Yeah.
And like, and the, like, I am talking about an issue in very abstract terms, but like, some people can be branded as immoral, but the reason they hold their opinion is because of actually really, really strong moral views, right? And like, I think the being able to actually understand why they hold this opinion is way more interesting than just being like,
it gives you a much better, much better picture.
And the thing, the thing that I say all the time, and you've definitely heard me say before, is that it's like, this is one of the biggest problems where in a lot of arguments and discussions and stuff, most people are more interested in being right than they are about being understood.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, like what you end up with is two sides both determined to be right,
Yeah.
not interested in either being understood or understanding the other person.
Yeah.
And it's really dangerous because, like, and this is why, like, I mean, I'll put it out there. I think this is why most of the world is a complete and utter shit show at the moment. Is because I mean, there are just.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Is that there's
absolutely crazy things going on in this world.
There's less and less people willing to have that understanding or allow the to take the time to investigate the other person's opinion, like discuss it, find out more. Nobody's got time for that these days.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
It's this or this or this or this.
I think a lot of it is also I think a lot of people do kind of lack a certain amount of compassion and like empathy for others, and because like a lot of people just don't care what their opinion is. Do you know what I mean? They're just not interested. Because I hold this opinion, that's it. You can't no, I don't care what your opinion is in this because I think you're an awful person for holding this opinion. And it's like, no, like, come on. Like,
and they just leave it at that and walk away and go, yeah, well, that's exactly what I thought they were going to say, or that's exactly what the kind of person that I thought they were. And then the other person's thinking the same. Yeah. And you're just like, well,
don't get me wrong. I have definitely walked away from like not every situation is a teachable moment.
No, but I still think
like try to do it. Yeah. But like if you like, I was having a conversation with Chris Marr the other day, last week, and he said something that it's one of these like phrases that is like embedded in my head now. Is that it's like you can't save everyone, you know. And like, sometimes you just kind of have to leave. Yeah.
Chris is good with those things because he said this something similar to me when I was another issue I have. So many issues about charging money and worried about how much I was charging. It's like Chris said to me, "It's okay for people to not be able to afford you," and I was like, "Yeah." And I said, "Yeah, you're right. It is. Why do I feel like I'm justifying it?" So yeah, and that's what he said there is right. It's just. You know,
and I think sometimes you do just have to go. Okay, I tried,
but you're
right. But it's not my cross to bear. You know, it's not my.
Yeah, but going right back to the start, it's better. It's still better to have an opinion than not. And so,
do you know what? I completely agree. I like. Do you know? I think it'd be interesting. Actually, I mean, I don't know who will even be listening to this, but I would love to.
If people have made it this far, and I'm well impressed.
I would love I'd love to kind of get a discussion going about this actually, because I do think that it's an interesting topic because I think like there's self-censorship, there's fear of confrontation, there's confidence, there's so many things, but at the end of the day, I mean, I do feel as though these days I am just like. I mean, and I know I didn't feel like this a few years ago. I know I didn't. I am really happy to nail my colours to the mast.
Yeah.
Really happy to do it. Like, I don't hold back anymore because I know I did for a really, really long time. And nowadays I'm just like, I feel way better. And also I think because like for other people as well, like it's not just you. Because there will be. I think this is one of these things. I think I wanted to say earlier actually, is that there are other people who can really benefit from your input. Like you might not be aware of it at all. You might not be aware of how.
It's only when you take time. Like it might take you years to come, and you get that one opinion out. And you've said it earlier as well, is that you get that opinion out, and then you start to get feedback from people going, "Oh, so glad you said that. That's really helped me because I can do this." And you go, "Oh man, I should have said this earlier because it could have helped all these people."
Yeah.
But you held on to it, and so I think the good part of having an opinion and getting your opinion out there far outweighs
the risks.
Any risk or negative, and a lot of the risk is purely self-driven.
It's pure.
They're not there. They're not really there.
It's mostly in your head, I think. And
it's
I think, I mean, one of the probably on that note, actually, it's that you can tell yourself the worst case scenario, really, really easily and really quickly. But what you'll probably find is that not only will most people not go there, right? Because not everyone is awful, and will.
Yeah.
I mean, there are folks. There are awful people out there,
Yeah.
but not everyone's going to go there. But also, a lot of people don't care.
Yeah.
A lot of people
it's a
scroll,
lot of self-importance.
Yeah, a lot of people will just scroll past your thing.
Yeah.
Imagine, like, it's like the whole tumbleweed thing of, like, imagine you fret and give yourself like major anxiety over posting an opinion, and then people just it's like the worst thing in that situation is that they just scroll past. I only mean because you made such a big deal about it. Like,
it's almost like
the reality is though that people probably will just scroll past, and not care, or like I don't know, like I feel like the worst that can generally happen is that someone goes, "I disagree with you."
Mm-hmm.
Some people might argue, the worst that might happen is that they choose not to do business with you, for example.
Mm-hmm.
I have made peace with that.
Yeah.
100%. Because, and especially like do you know what? Generally speaking, if I have an opinion and I voice my opinion, it's because I do genuinely feel really strongly about it. Like, do you know what? Like for example, you make cheese and jam. I don't really care about cheese and jam, right? I know you don't. I know you don't either. Like, let's just call that as an example, right? But you're not gonna see me going crazy on social media about something I don't care about. Yeah. Do you know what? But you might see me going. I won't go crazy. Like, I'll try not to go crazy. You won't see me ranting and raving. Not ranting and raving. You won't see me. You won't see me ranting and raving about something I just don't care about. What you will see me talking about impassionedly and with gusto is stuff I genuinely care about. And I feel as though that comes from a place of, I stand for this, and by standing for this, I always stand for this. And that's it. That is it. And I think that's kind of it. And like, I don't know. It's one of these things. Like, I don't think we're necessarily like going into self-help territory, but I do feel like there's an element of like, if you can figure out what your values are, and like stand for something. Like, I think this is the whole thing about opinions though. It's like, if you have to stand for something.
So my thing is that I stand in a business sense. I stand for my clients, and I stand for my customers, and I stand for like the example we used earlier. I stand for young designers, and I don't want them to be fed bullshit by people who think they know better, but they haven't got any experience themselves, and it's up to me to kind of speak out. It's having an opinion in a sense, but it's more than an opinion if it's experience. And it's like, well, I should, and to use your phrase, I should take a stand on this because it's wrong to be giving this information.
And it's ultimately, and this is kind of the whole thing of like, if you actually stand for something, the reason you stand for it is because it has a purpose. And like, for example, you standing for not letting young designers be fed I'm going to call them lies. Being fed lies. Let's just say what it is. Let's say what it is. I'm going to go a step further and say it's lies.
Lies.
But that has a purpose.
Yeah.
There's a real world purpose.
Well, it has a knock-on effect for every other designer, because if they go away and take this information and they start practicing it affects customers. Customers then have a bad experience of design, which then affects every other designer, and it's that whole thing. So that was one of the reasons as well for starting the videos. Was I wanted to make graphic design feel valued again, because we're treated so often like a more like a commodity or a product than a professional service, like a lawyer or someone who's taken time to practice their skill. But because it's visuals, it's seen that anyone can do it, but not everyone can do it.
Well, I mean, I think like we probably should start to kind of wrap up soon, I think.
And that's a wrap, folks. Good night.
No, but like, just because you mentioned it, I feel like it would be remiss of us to not talk about it. Is design as a commodity, and that being something that we definitely share an opinion on. Certain gig economy websites that we won't talk about because
they have a place.
They absolutely have a place,
another,
but they do not replace talented designers.
No.
And skilled designers, and like, I think this is a problem that, but like you have, for example, very famous, you could call them influencers in their space because they have paid sponsorships for their podcasts, for example, sending droves of people to design competition websites, for example.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not going to call anyone out. I mean, like, whatever. If you,
but I've seen. Yeah, I've seen.
You know what?
Saying, hey, don't spend money. Don't spend.
You know how much. You know how much.
Thing is
you know how much a web designer costs these days. You could do it. You could do it all in Squarespace for yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, okay.
And then you end up with an absolute pig's ear. Even though Squarespace is easy to use, you still need to have an eye for layout and structure and hierarchy.
You still need to know why
all of that.
What is your offering? What's your service?
Yeah.
Who are your customers?
But yeah, I think
how do they engage with your content?
We're kind of I just say we had to cover that, but we're kind of
But I think that's the thing is it's definitely like that. That's like a shared value that we both have an opinion on.
Definitely have an opinion on,
and have no issue talking about our opinion.
Yeah,
I think that's probably the way to say it. So I think that's a wrap. I think that's a wrap on episode 1 of Pyrad Radio.
So if you have stuck around, thanks for listening, Mum. But
your mum is not here with us right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not trying.
My mum gave up listening after 5 minutes, I'm sure.
Yeah. I did want to clarify. When I'm saying that your mum's not here with us, it's not. I don't mean that like she's gone to a better place.
Yeah, we're not using a Ouija board at the minute.
No.
But it's this has been my first podcast recording.
Well done
as well. So,
congratulations.
So it's weird because I've always especially thinking about doing a design podcast. I'm like, but if it's a design podcast, surely we're going to be talking about a lot of visuals and stuff. People can't see it. I know we're recording this and we'll probably put it on YouTube as well, but it's been interesting for me to kind of just have a chat about it.
Well, I think this thing, like, I feel like, I don't want to try and say that we're the oracle of all things design and creativity, but I think at the end of the day, what we hope from this podcast, and we hope to continue releasing episodes talking about, it's essentially like, it kind of started, I remember one of the discussions we had, it was almost like a what grinds my gears today kind of situation, but like, it's like,
what are things on our mind? Talked about it,
like, what are things on our mind, and how, like, we feel like we have good conversations, and it felt good to record
I think we felt that there are, when we have conversations like we do, we have outcomes and stuff that anyone who's listening will learn.
I would hope so. I think so. I think so. I feel like we're now trying to. Okay, so we're now trying to talk ourselves into actually publishing this episode. So so hopefully all our listeners are like listening. Going,
so if you listen to it,
publish it, guys. Come on, do it.
But if you have listened to this first episode or whatever, or for some mad reason you're listening to episode 100 of Pyrad Radio, and you've now come back to episode 1. God, how bad were we in the first episode of this thing?
Yeah, absolutely. Car crash.
We're so much better.
And we're so much older now too. Yeah. So no, it's been emotional. It's been good. I've enjoyed this. Really good conversation.
Yeah,
I
me
think.
too.
So
yeah.
If at the moment we don't have a social thing for this thing. At the moment, we might do one. We'll figure it out later. We haven't got there yet.
Yeah, we'll get it. Get it sorted.
But if you'd like to contact either of us, we're on. Well, I'm on Twitter, Rad Coverdale. Also on Instagram on the same handle. So RAD Coverdale. You can get me on LinkedIn, Facebook as well. Col, where can our listeners find you?
You can get me Pixels Col on Twitter and on Instagram. And on YouTube under Pixels Inc. And you can leave a comment there as well.
Cool. Well, I think that's us. So
awesome.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Goodbye. 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 Goodbye.
Cheerio. Cheerio.
This is the bonus ASMR section of the episode. Thanks for listening. You can stop now.